morning, everybody. I'm Muriel Bowser. Welcome to the beautiful Atlas Theater on H Street Northeast. Give them a big round of applause here at the Atlas. I want to thank Jared and his team for welcoming us. And I also want to acknowledge and thank all the H Street Northeast businesses who have joined us here today, as well as members of my cabinet and members of the business community. Give them a big round of applause. I'm also seated with the city administrator for the district, Kevin Donahue, the deputy mayor for economic development, Nina Albert, and our panelists who are going to join in our discussion in just a few minutes. But today we are here to present our vision for how we grow our city, how we respond to the current economic challenges, and how we pivot to take advantage of the many opportunities before us. My fiscal 26 budget is about right-sizing our spending, investing in our future, and growing our economy. And so today we are going to talk mostly about how we grow our economy. We've talked a little bit in other previews about big investments that we're making. And today we bring it all together to talk about our transformational growth agenda. I also want to acknowledge that we've been joined by the at-large council member for business and economic development, Kenyon McDuffie. Please give Kenyon a big round of applause. And it's been a privilege for us to work with him on how we take advantage of our opportunities and move the district forward. So we are not on H Street by accident. We're on H Street because it is a beautiful part of our community. H Street businesses came to me and said, Mayor, we need your help. We didn't come out of the pandemic as strong as we went into the pandemic, and there's some things that need to change to bring H Street back. This corridor has experienced a real revival with arts, entertainment, restaurants, and we want to bring that vibrancy back. There are old favorites along the corridor, and it continues to welcome fantastic new restaurants and businesses. So in our meetings, our businesses feel confident that with a strong partnership with the city, people will rediscover H Street Northeast again. So that's part of why we're here. So let's say a little bit, and we can move to slide 2, about the task in front of us. We all know that the federal government has been a strong and stable partner in Washington, D.C. for decades. We're proud to be the host to our federal government, and we know that the federal government has been a stable employer for our very talented workforce, providing tens of thousands of jobs that have helped build strong families and neighborhoods in our city. Not just our city, but our entire region in Maryland and Virginia as well. But we know that could be changing. Our CFO estimates that up to 40,000 federal jobs could be impacted by DOGE cuts. And on a personal level, we will all know people whose lives could be upended or changed, or certainly a lot of anxiety caused by these changes. We know as well, and perhaps most people don't think about it this way, but these changes will also certainly have impact on our city economy, on our city budgets, on our regional economy, and on our national economy. So what you see are 3 bars. The first is where we are now. The second is where we'll be if we do nothing. And that's what I call the Doge economy. And you see the loss, not just in the federal government, but in jobs, in local jobs too. And the third row, the third bar, I should say, shows how with the right interventions, we can actually grow. So we can go from this prospect of losing 43,000 jobs on the left to the prospect of gaining 15,000 jobs. So which future do you prefer? I know which one I prefer. But it means we need to be strategic with our investments, and we need to have a policy environment that makes it easy to do business in DC. So with that, I'm going to ask Deputy Mayor Nina Albert to talk a little bit more about what that growth agenda means.
Thank you so much. Hello. Thank you so much, Mayor Bowser. As you have said, we are in unprecedented times and we are facing unique challenges, but we're very fortunate to have your leadership guiding a path forward for our city. And you know, and DC knows about overcoming challenges, and we will and can come back better. Hello. Okay. So when we when we think about our growth agenda in the future, it's really about three major pillars. The first is that we must continue to invest in downtown because downtown, as we said before, is the economic engine to our city, and its productivity in a very compact landmass actually provides the revenue and the jobs that supports the rest of the city across all 8 wards. But this time, what we're trying to do is something a little bit more aggressive in terms of growing those industries that are our right to lead in and to grow. So number one, we're going to expand our sports, culture, and entertainment economy. And also, we're going to double down on tech and other high-growth industries. So these are the 2 areas where we have immediate opportunity to grow, and they will generate significant jobs. And then last but not least, when we talk about competing effectively in the future, we must continue to look at how we can remove barriers to business growth. And so all 3 of those components comprise our growth economy. Next. So when we needed a plan for downtown to recover from the pandemic, we worked with the business improvement districts to create an action plan, and then we launched Housing in Downtown and Office to Anything, programs that invest in projects that convert our excess supply of office buildings and turning them into vibrant, resilient, mixed-use buildings that will start to create neighborhoods. When it looked like our NBA and NHL teams might leave, Mayor Bowser never left the table. She launched the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force to stabilize the neighborhood, inspire confidence, and present a bold vision for the future. So now, as we're looking at what's next in FY26, we are looking at implementing many of the recommendations of the action plan, as well as of the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force, all of which contributes to supporting a mixed-use 24/7 downtown with more housing and more activity in the near term and in the long term. In the near term, we're supporting activations this summer while Capital One Arena undergoes renovations. We're also going to be standing up and supporting a new Gallery Place Cultural District that will work with the community to promote the neighborhood and preserve the cultural identity of Chinatown. Our longer-term planning, which requires consistent investments over the years, includes expanding the map for our eligible housing in downtown applicants. We're also looking at planning to reposition the federal buildings in Southwest DC, because right now we think of downtown as being north of the mall, but in the future we have to think about downtown as also including south of the mall, because there is an opportunity here to really connect the mall to the wharf and create a new neighborhood. We're also proposing continued investments in bringing people from the mall into Gallery Place Chinatown. And we would do that by transforming 7th and 8th Street Northwest, and delivering Gallery Square, which is really more of an iconic location and festival grounds all around the Portrait Gallery. This will create that buzz that residents and visitors, as well as businesses, will want right in the heart of Gallery Place. Next slide. As the mayor said, we need to invest in businesses that diversify our economy, create jobs for residents, and generate reliable tax revenues for city services. That includes, as I mentioned before, our sports, entertainment, and destination sectors. This is not an irrelevant nor unimportant investment. We are at the center of this region. We get visitors from all over the region to DC. But as we continue to lean into and own the nomenclature of a sports capital, people from all over the country and all over the world will want to be here. We've seen how our sports stadiums have served as catalytic investments to transform entire neighborhoods, including Capitol Riverfront and Buzzard Point. And we're going to do that again with RFK, with the Commanders, who are making the single largest private investment in our city. And especially at a time like this, we are focused very specifically on producing new jobs and delivering projects that generate new investment and new business opportunities for our city. We haven't forgotten about Capital One Arena, which is in progress and will kick off construction this summer. And in 3 years' time, you can assume to step into a new state-of-the-art urban arena that will continue to anchor and bring vibrancy to our downtown. And then last but not least, we talk about it all the time, that we are the city with the second most theater seats in the country, only to New York. And so we want to make sure that our historic theaters continue to thrive and are proposing renewed investment in National Theater, Lincoln Theater, and Howard Theater. Next slide. So DC has very quickly become one of the fastest growing cities for technology in the nation. We have the high-skilled talent and access that provides an immense competitive advantage. Just for context, the DMV is the 5th largest economy in the country. And so it is ours to harness and to excel in. Last year, Forbes ranked DC as the best state for technology careers in the nation. We're leaning into supporting this thriving sector and strengthening DC's position as a leader in technology and innovation. We'll accelerate that work by reviving the Qualified High Technology Companies Tax Incentive and establishing a new fund to invest in business accelerators and incubators that support the growth of technology startup companies in DC. We're also in the process of deploying $26 million, which we hope will leverage an additional $26 million in private funds through the DC Venture Capital Program. Next. In order to reach those tech companies as well as other high-growth sectors, we need to supersize our business attraction efforts. So we are doubling our marketing capacity and accelerating our capacity to attract high-growth businesses to DC. We'll also continue the success of our Vitality Fund, which has been our main tool for recruiting and retaining businesses in Washington. We have strong fundamentals that make DC a great place for businesses to come to. We have world-class infrastructure, talent, culture, livability, diversity, and so much more that we can sell our city on. But we need to make sure that we are telling that story and that we are reaching businesses beyond our borders who want to come here and just need to be invited to do so. Last. So, Mayor, I think that you are going to take this one.
Absolutely. So thank you, Nina, for laying out where we are and how a strategic framework that's intentional and funded well will help us get there. Now, the thing that I hear most frequently from businesses is Mayor, we love DC. When we want to do business in DC, we want to hire DC residents, but could the government please get out of the way? And how can we look at the government to make sure that we are competitive? That means that we are competitive in the city, but also within the region and with other regions. And I see you all are looking ahead, so let me just get to it. So first and foremost, if you can go back to the previous slide, we want to make sure that we are reducing red tape. You've heard that before, but I have challenged my team to really look at our processes and deliver on real process improvements that save time and save money for our businesses. It also means that we're looking at some policies that we know are well-meaning and have in various stages supported along the way, but no, these policies take us out of competitiveness with the region and impose a lot of cost on our businesses at a time when our businesses can't absorb those costs. And so this includes pausing the building energy performance standard in net zero. It also includes a parking benefit equivalent program that's imposing costs on businesses, especially our downtown businesses. And it builds on the act that I introduced, the Rental Act, just a couple of months ago, that modernizes TOPA, which is a well-meaning program, but it hasn't been changed in a couple of decades. And it's costing us money, it's stopping transactions in the city, and it is doing more than it was purported to do in saving affordable housing. So we know that we need to enact TOPA reform now. We are also very focused on not creating new taxes. So there's no sales tax increase included in the 26 budget. We think this is important, especially since consumers are facing so many unknowns when it comes to buying goods. We are reducing the universal paid leave tax, and we are going from a 0.75% to a 0.72%. It's modest, but we regard this as a change that we can build on in the coming years. We are expanding eligibility for DMPED retail programs, and we are implementing citywide retail incentives to help revitalize our commercial corridors. And more than that, we know that our restaurants in the restaurant industry need special attention. We have been alarmed over the last several years about the changes to the industry outside of our control, but some within our control. We think our restaurants are facing a perfect storm with increased operating and supply costs, higher rents, and unique labor challenges. So we know that the city must rebalance our system to ensure our restaurants can compete, survive, grow, and employ DC residents. So with this budget, with my introduction to the council, we will bring our policies in line with the region by restoring DC's previous tipped minimum wage law. And we're also, we want to say to everybody, come back to restaurants, come back to our restaurants in particular, and we will establish a new sales tax holiday for DC restaurants in the coming year, and we have chosen a few dates there. So my budget, to be clear, and we haven't arrived at these proposals lightly, but we know how important the restaurant industry is to DC. We will be moving to repeal I-82. We will be putting incentives in place that are aggressive about attracting restaurants, attracting other businesses, and making sure that this industry can survive. You've heard me say it before when I talk about sports, but the same is true for the restaurant industry, the entire hospitality industry. We are a hospitality-based economy. Following the federal government, it's the hospitality sector that allows people to buy homes, put their kids through college, live here, and afford to live here. And if restaurants close, there are no jobs, okay? There are no jobs. So, I've talked a lot, and it's been a great, not just exercise, but putting very smart people together from our team, but also listening to the private sector to say what we need now. And while everyone is anxious about how the economy is shifting, we know that we have the fundamental tools to shift to, and in fact, to change the trajectory of that shift. So our goal here is not to lose those 40,000 jobs, and we know the federal government can do something about that. But we also have to be in a position to create new jobs and to replace that economic activity if that happens. So now is our time. So we're leaning in 26, right-sizing spending, of course, but doubling down on the things that are going to help us grow. So you know our city. We continue to be in the best city in the world, and we have the fundamentals to make the economic changes that we need to. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the Deputy Mayor. We'll hear from our panelists, and then we'll take a few questions.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor. We have a big agenda, but I really believe that these are the moves, the collective moves that we need to make to generate jobs as quickly as possible and make sure that we diversify economy, because a diverse economy is a resilient economy. With that, we have invited 3 very special guests from different parts of the industry to come and talk to us about their experiences and also where they hope the city can keep getting better. So first, we have Rock Harper. He is the chef and owner of Hill Prince right here on 8th Street, a restaurant operator. We're also joined by Johannes Tafese, founder and CEO of Gratitude Systems. He is an entrepreneur in technology and based right here in Washington. And then last but not least is Jeff Utz, who is a land use attorney specializing in DC land use and permitting processes, and he is the director at Gulston Stores. So I am going to start with Rock Harper. So Rock, you are a celebrity in and of yourself, I'll just say. If anybody watches Hell's Kitchen, he was a winning chef. So congratulations, represent DC.
Thank you.
You own multiple restaurants, including 8th Street's beloved Hill Prince, which is actually just right next door, I think. Tell us a little bit about your business and also what you love about being in the hospitality industry.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Mayor Bowser and Deputy Mayor Albert. Hill Prince is a restaurant and bar, but I like to think of it as a gathering space, a community hub where we can, of course, eat some good food and drink some good drink, but get to know one another and gather. I love hospitality because I've always loved people. People are my thing. Ever since that 8th grade home ec class where I got started, it's always been about the people, and that's what fuels me.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we are hearing a lot from restaurants about how the current environment is so difficult, mounting expenses from lots of different sources. And for people who might not be as familiar with what's going on, can you just share with us how DC's regulatory environment is different than our neighbors? And also, what is it that's making it hard for restaurants to survive and thrive?
Well, I think that there are a lot of things that people don't really understand about the restaurant business. And I don't want to go too deep into it. I'll lose some people, but we're complex, just like our population. We're diverse. So, the challenges are diverse, and this is just one of many things, right? So we have labor shortages, increased rents, and regulatory when I-82 was implemented. But so what that means is this. That means that we have a way to get to profitability. We all want to make money, right? And I'm sorry, I lost my thought there. But what happened is that we want to go to, minimum wage was always legal, right? No one was ever making less than minimum wage. What I-82 did was it forced us to make it upfront a certain way, and it less maneuverability. And that just been really challenging. So if you have a fast casual restaurant or a fine dining restaurant, you all have to operate the same way, and that just doesn't work. We have the data, and we see that just doesn't work.
All right. Well, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and switch to a different sector, which is tech. So Johannes, you're the founder and CEO of Gratitude Systems. You're also sitting on the Washington, D.C. Chamber of Commerce's technology subcommittee, so thank you for your service there. But talk to us a little bit about why you chose D.C. to start your company and what you hear from others in your industry about why they love being here.
Absolutely. Mayor Bowser, Deputy Mayor Albert, thank you for having me here. Gratitude Systems is a tech company, and we leverage technology like AI and cybersecurity and the cloud to help businesses add value to their customers and to themselves. DC has been a great place to do business, and what we're hearing from the business community in general is that DC is a strategic location, especially when you think about tech businesses that are focused on policy, technology, academia. If you want to focus on GovTech, cybersecurity, and AI, it has a very educated workforce. So it's just a great place to do business. And what we're hearing from the business community is that all businesses, especially startups, have things that they require in order to flourish. And that includes access to capital. That includes workforce development pipeline. That includes streamlined regulation, businesses like predictability. That includes affordable and flexible spaces. That includes affordable housing to make sure that we attract and retain the talent that we need.
The mayor is going to be proposing in the coming budget investments in a tech ecosystem fund, as well as making adjustments to existing tax incentives, and all of this designed to attract more companies to move to the district. Can you talk about the value these additions can bring and how you think they might be received by the tech industry?
Absolutely. Like I said, DC has a lot going for it already. However, what the mayor is proposing with the Tech Ecosystem Fund and minimizing regulation will signal that DC is seriously committed to attracting and becoming a more competitive city and tech-forward city. And this proposed change will fuel growth where it matters, especially for early-stage startups. It's a critical move that says DC believes in homegrown talent, and we're going to invest in that talent. And we're going to work to retain that talent. And it's going to say, hey, DC is open for tech businesses. And it's going to allow tech entrepreneurs to focus on building product and scaling and hiring the talent they need instead of managing regulations and red tape. That's extremely important. And one thing I would add is that it signals not only to DC businesses, but to venture capitalists, investors, and other entrepreneurs across the nation and globally saying, hey, we want to position DC and we want to consider DC for this. So I think this will be met in a very optimistic way from the business community.
Well, thank you so much. And then last but not least, Jeff, you specialize in DC zoning and permitting processes and we've gotten to know each other recently as we've been working to determine ways that we can update our regulatory and permitting predictability so that it can be easier for businesses to invest. Can you share a little bit about how the proposed changes, and there have been kind of a number that we've shared here today, will promote positive, affordable development in Washington?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm excited to be with you today. I'm happy to speak to that. There are many of the proposed changes in the budget that will be highly impactful, positively impactful for the economic growth in our city. The changes will have a particularly positive impact on real estate investment. They'll help foster re-engagement of development in D.C., particularly around affordable housing. For the last several years, just one important point I want to make before really detailing it, is the real estate industry has heard from investors that funds are fungible and they will travel to other markets. So, why does that matter in real estate in the business community? We've all touched on the investment so far already. Funds should be sourced regionally, nationally, and even internationally, and they can go where they are kind of wanted the most, where they can experience a known return, where there are less surprises in kind of the transaction is a known quantity. When there is a set of processes that are delayed, result in surprises, that capital that we get in DC is allocated elsewhere. So we want to make sure that we're a competitive market for that capital to be placed. Speaking specifically about some of the changes in the budget that are going to be particularly impactful, and I'm really excited, are on the cusp of being implemented. The first and foremost is the inclusion of the Rental Act and specifically the element of TOPA in the budget. That will be a significant component in bringing investment back to DC. It will lead to greater housing supply, and it will help contain housing costs and spur construction of additional affordable housing. It will put us closer to on par with our outlying jurisdictions and others in the country and even internationally that simply don't have these sorts of impediments. Second, the proposed zoning-related changes to the DC Administrative Procedures Act will have an immediate positive impact to engage the real estate investment community with the public zoning entitlement process that is currently often avoided. Currently, appeals often result in finance disappearing while construction costs increase. Protracted appeals mean decades with vacant lots, missed opportunities, particularly for the communities that can benefit from it the most. However, the initiative will bring much needed clarity, structure, and accountability to the appeals process. The resulting appeals process would maintain an opportunity for stakeholder engagement while allowing for voices to be heard through all phases of review. Third, and the final one that I will call attention to, is the pause in BEPS and net zero. This is particularly laudable in this moment. The additional costs and uncertainty that these existing requirements have created have chilled investment and delayed projects from proceeding or purchases from happening. The pause will allow for the opportunity for the financing markets to repair while investment dollars flow back to the city. Then these programs can be restarted at a later time where there's greater clarity for their optimal implementation. Globally, these fixes will address real issues. They currently don't just pause construction on sites, they impact jobs, they stop job creation, they freeze investments, they stall delivery of housing, particularly affordable housing, which creates a challenge for the city globally, not just developers. It's a housing problem, it's a jobs problem, and there's really a pack of solutions in the budget that I am happy to see implemented, and I applaud you all for putting it in the budget. Thank you.
Well, Mayor, you've said that we can have it all, which is a competitive business environment, as well as making sure that our community and our residents are best taken care of. So with that,
Okay. I want to turn to the city administrator, see if he wants to add anything.
I'll just provide some budget context to this. So in the budget that we'll be putting forward to the council, the changes here you should think about in two ways. One, you'll see investments in both our operating and capital budgets. The changes that we talked about here, the investments in transforming our growth agenda, will total about $71 million between our operating budget and our capital budget, all of which will be in FY26 this coming year, except if it's a capital construction project, it'll actually often start this year and stretch to 26 and 27. The larger part of the benefit that the budget will include is the Budget Support Act, which includes many of the non-budgetary factors that you heard here, such as lowering the payroll tax, pushing off an increase to sales taxes, repealing Initiative 82. That provides benefits that you can't quantify in a budget, so it's not an investment you see in our operating budget. But we know just for some of them that they actually will dwarf in benefit to the economy the actual investments we'll make. For example, by pushing off the sales tax by 1 year, we know that will benefit our consumers and businesses by $65 million just for that 1 year. We know that for each year that we push down the payroll tax from 0.75 to 0.72, that'll benefit the business community by $20 million. So there's significant benefit and economic benefit that you'll see in the easing of cost and the easing of burden that we're being placed on our business community, in addition to the investments that we talked about today.
Thank you. Thank you. So what's next? So are we taking, what are we doing now? Okay, we'll take a few press questions. Okay, a few press questions.
Hi, Ben Peters with the Washington Business Journal. I'm curious, has the Rental Act and the omnibus entire thing been baked into the budget now?
Yes, it will be a part of our Budget Support Act.
And the redevelopment of the Southwest waterfront, is there any, Southwest, is there any additional details you can provide on that? Who will be developing this plan and what it will entail?
So right now we know that we need to work with GSA to really think about if they were to dispose of a significant number of the properties south of Independence Avenue, that there needs to be a plan, because those buildings sit in the context of a marketplace. And so buyers will be incentivized to buy if they can see the direction that that neighborhood is going in. So we're seeking to work together to really think of like a more traditional planning process and visioning process, just like we did at Gallery Place Chinatown, where there start to be sort of elements of understanding as to the direction that the neighborhood wants to go in.
I have a couple questions. The first is about the I-82 repeal. You mentioned not making the decision lightly. It overturns a referendum by the voters. So I'm curious how you weighed the sort of benefits you outlined of the proposal against the idea of overturning something that was passed by the voters, and also whether you think there's support on the council for this repeal.
Thanks for that question. And I think our response to voters is pretty simple. The economy that we're dealing with right now and the environment for restaurants is vastly different than the economy and the environment that restaurants were operating in when this ballot measure was advanced. And so it is my responsibility to share with the voters and the council policy changes that our city needs. And if this was passed by the council, this would be our approach. It was passed by the voters, and it's going to be our approach. It would be negligent of us to act like we're in the same place we were 3 years ago. Yeah.
I have another question about the NFL draft. The news that it's coming to DC in 2027. Do you have estimates on how much revenue that could bring to the city? And could you explain kind of why this could be important for the city's economy?
Well, I'm not going to get in front of the announcement, I think, even though it's been widely reported, and we are wildly excited about it. We'll have more to say about that at another time.
The 82 aspect, do you think if voters had a chance to vote on that today, that the results might be differently? And then going back to kind of following what she said, do you think there's going to be enough votes on the council to go along with that repeal?
I think that the members of the council like restaurants. They know the importance of restaurants to our economy and local hiring and keeping DC residents employed. They can see that we are out of line with the rest of the region, and we are losing investment of new restaurants, growing restaurants, and employees to other parts of the region. So I think that we're going to make the strong case to the members of the council about why this is important. We have to save this industry, and there are things that are going to be out of our control with other increasing costs, but this one is in our control. This is a local policy, and we have to make the strong case.
But would voters feel the same way today, or do you think that they might vote differently on a matter?
You know, I really can't speculate. My experience with DC voters is when you lay out the facts, then they are supportive of what makes sense for the most people.
Mayor, just one on 82, one on NFL draft. On 82, will the language in your repeal speak to also rolling back service charges or fees that restaurants have imposed as a result of I-82? Would it speak to those, also kind of reset the clock on all of this, or just simply repeal the minimum wage portion of it?
It repeals what 82 advanced, but we would be open to any suggestions around other issues.
And then on the NFL draft, will you be attending the White House announcement today?
I expect to, yes.
And then can I ask you about that decision to appear with President Trump, who I think it's fair to say you don't always see eye to eye on in his policies, particularly directed at the district, and some of the things he said to you. Can you walk us through your process of making that decision to go, if it was a difficult decision for you?
Well, I've been trying to get in front of the president on a couple issues lately. So, yeah, I'm going. No, in all seriousness, Mark, yeah, we're going to have a lot of issues to deal with this president on, and we are trying to make sure we're having every opportunity to advance those. Yep.
Tom Rousey over at Channel 7. Forgive me, this is a multi-part question, but I know Kevin just explained some of the economic benefits of this, but how can the city afford to do this as far as its own coffers? Because this is obviously in the short term at least going to cost you some money. And then where does the current hope that the House passes the bill to allow you to not make the budget cuts fit into this? And where does RFK fit into all this? New RFK.
Okay, maybe Kevin, did you follow all those? I'll let you.
I'll start. So no, it's very good questions because other things folks are thinking about. So there's a clear delineation between the effect of the CR and what's in the 26 budget. So our 26 budget's done. It's been done for some time now. The question as to whether or not the Congress votes to allow DC to spend its locally generated tax money is a question that will affect how we spend between now and the end of September. So that'll either entail cuts during the summer or the budget that we already have in place that will continue our current level of spending over the summer. No matter how that question plays out, it does not actually affect the funding available to us in 26. And that's the great irony and tragedy is that we're collecting the money in 26, we're collecting it now. The Congress is saying we can't spend the money we collect over the summer up until the end of September. So all the changes you see here as it pertains to investments in the growth economy are all changes that are about what happens after October 1st. The debate we're having is whether or not we're going to have to pull back spending in pretty drastic ways between now and the end of September. So you have to actually think of them as separate questions because how the summer plays out does not actually affect how we invest in 26 because we're still collecting revenue in 26 that we're putting into the budget. So that's the sort of the question. And the broader issue of how do we afford this over the course of the fiscal year, what you'll see when we roll the formal budget out, we balance our budget over 4 years. And as we look at this, if we make these investments and they have the effect we think it will allow for us to avoid reductions in spendings in FY 27, 28, and 29. So we know without the revenue produced by a growing economy, the changes from the federal layoffs will really hit us in years 3 and 4 of our 4-year budget. They don't actually hit us in year 1. So the question that the mayor and we confronted was, well, what do we do to avoid what the CFO is saying will happen if we do nothing? And that's what sparked the conversation to set what you see here as the growth agenda. That what the CFO said as a projection is not written in stone. We can either sit in our hands, I think the mayor said, or we can act on it. And so with these investments, we will allow for us to invest in FY26. If they have the result we think it will allow for us to basically buy back some of the cuts that we're going to put in our budget that will affect us in FY29, 28, and 27. So you should think about an investment to avoid things that we'll have to do later on in the fiscal plan.
And where does the idea, because I noticed the football stadium wasn't mentioned, is that later years where money would come into play for that?
Well, the football stadium was mentioned at the top in the plan, and it'll be included in our capital budget that is proposed.
And I wanted to ask about one other thing that was in here. It said you're kind of taking some money from tourism, if you will, to help with reopening business. Is that a cut to tourism? I mean, how would you describe that, and will that hurt tourism?
So coming out of the pandemic, there was a program called the Tourism Recovery District, and it was stood up for approximately a 4-year period to really support the hotel and tourism industry come back. And it has, and we've seen great record numbers in tourism as a result of this enhanced marketing effort that we've been able to do. And so now what we are realizing at this moment is that we need to preserve the growth of tourism. That can't stop. And so we'll revert back to pre-pandemic numbers in terms of the budget that supports Destination DC and Events DC. But we will take a fraction of that, and it's specifically the Tourism Recovery District, to then pivot and use it for this growth agenda around business attraction. And most cities actually have equal investments in both tourism and business attraction because the two go hand in hand. And so it is time right now, given that our charge is to replace jobs and to diversify our economy. That includes tourism, but we've made big investments in sports, entertainment, and tourism, and we'll continue, but we're taking a portion of the fund that was designed to recover post-pandemic tourism and instead pivoting it to recovering our economy in this new moment.
Mayor Bowser, just one.
Okay, last two?
One quick on just the timing. Do you have a date certain? You'll be surprised that at his press briefing this morning, Chairman Mendelson again complained that you have not sent the budget to the council yet. Do you have a date on when you'll send the 26 budget? And will you send the supplemental 25 at the same time, and just timing on that?
So here are the choices that the council has at this moment. We offered to give them what we're calling the pre-certification FY26 documents, which is kind of unprecedented, and we worked with the CFO to make these documents available. We could give that to them right now. So far, the council has elected not to receive them. Otherwise, we can put them together once the CFO has certified them and advance them to the council at that time. And the city administrator told the council chairman last week that we believed we would be finished with the 25 changes by Wednesday. And at that point, if the CFO agrees that it's done, then it's done.
So the plan is to submit them both together once that.
Well, that's the only way we can submit them, so that they can in the way that the council always receives them, certified by the CFO. They have to be sent together, per the CFO. And we don't disagree with his assessment.
Muriel with DC News Now. Mayor, I'm wondering just where your head's at. How are you kind of feeling? Because you have to keep dealing with these contradictions coming from the federal government, all these things that are setting the stage for you to have to sit here and change the way our economy works today based on, the loss of federal jobs. We talked about Medicaid on Friday, the cuts there, but then also the president coming out to potentially announce a huge economic driver with the NFL draft. So how is that for you to deal with kind of the ups and downs of all this?
It is just like you might imagine. It is tricky, and I learned early on, and I share it with my team, when you are the mayor of a big city, things like wacky things happen all the time that can take you off your agenda. You have to deal with them, but you have to never lose sight of your agenda. So no matter what happens, we have to deliver a 26 budget. We regret that we couldn't do it on the same schedule that we always do, but we had no control over a CR not passing. But I do think that residents expect me to be thoughtful about 25, not issue something that's going to make throw everything into a tizzy, if you will, to use a technical term, and not create unnecessary anxiety, and continue to advance a push to get the Congress to approve it. So we're doing all of those things, but at the end of the day, we have to have a budget to the council. They have to have 70 days to work on it, and we have to be ready for October 1st, because no matter what happens, October 1st is coming. Okay, I think, all right, 2 more, and then we have to take off, guys. Yep.
Mayor, can you be a little bit more specific on what zoning procedures will be reformed to speed up the process?
Sure.
Sure. We're actually just trying to put both deadlines and clarity on who's permitted, for example, to appeal a process. Like right now, it's completely open. Somebody who's not even a resident of the District of Columbia can do it. So we need to put some guardrails. Also, people, and recognize the people who are most impacted by zoning actions in their neighborhood are the neighbors. And so things like that. Also, investors make a significant upfront investment in proposing a project and conceiving of a project and going through the zoning process. And so we want to make sure that if somebody is appealing the process, that there's opportunity for them to weigh in. And they do that, but that also if somebody is going to stop a project in course, that there is, a process and a threshold for them to do that. So it's a little wonky. The language is probably the best way to describe it, but hopefully that gives you some sense. Right now, we're unbounded in who can participate in the appeals process, and we'd like to bring some shape to that.
Important because I can't tell you the number of affordable housing units that have been held up because of Nina's been very, nice in the way that she has described it. But it holds up units being delivered and taxes being generated, and it's not fair to the process, and we want to make it more predictable and more fair. Mm-hmm. Last question.
Thank you. So just to clarify, the FY26 budget has been submitted to the CFO already. But
I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay.
I already answered. They're going together. They have to go together.
Okay. So the FY25 supplemental will go on Wednesday?
That is our hope.
Okay. And so the council passed a resolution last week that tried to force a deadline of Monday. Just why was that not possible in the end?
Wasn't possible. And the chairman knew that when he gave that date to the council members. We had a range of possibility that we thought we could be done between now and Wednesday, and it turns out that now didn't happen, and we're hopeful that Wednesday will. All right, thank you, everybody.